And once again, I want to welcome you. So my name is Judi Utah. My co-presenter is Hilary Kokenda, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Zavikon. This was a presentation that Hilary and I gave at a conference called Bridge to the Future. And it was about the OCSG Career Club. We started Career Club last year around this time, and this is a presentation that shares with you what Career Club is about and what benefits people saw, and we'll tell some stories. We have some people in the audience who were part of that first Career Club group. I know that Grant Padu is here and Savag, and we'll actually be telling their stories. So they might be able to come and shed some light and answer some questions when we get to that. So I'm going to move on. I'm not going to take questions till the end, or put them in the chat if you have a question so that we can make it through the presentation. And between Hilary and I, we should be able to monitor them all. Right, Hilary?
Yes, we'll do our best, but yeah, we should be able to cover it.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're going to give you some background, tell you a little bit about us, give you some background on Career Club, discuss the curriculum, share some of the results and journeys that people went on, share with you what we learned. You start doing something and you learn things as you go along. I'm sure you've learned started a class and ended up learning something totally different than you thought you were going to learn, and let people know how we do this. So that's what we're going to focus on. So let's start with who we are. So I am the president of the Orange County Asperger's Support Group. When I started Career Club, I didn't think I was going to be a co-instructor, but somehow I ended up doing that. And that's because I have a 30-year background in high-tech marketing. I have an MBA from Carnegie Mellon. I have an undergraduate in computer science from UCLA. And as Rebecca, who's Hilary's partner, and I started working on this, I realized I had some input and some things to add. And the next thing I knew, I was helping paint the fence. I have a 30-year-old son, Josh. Josh graduated from Cal State Fullerton in television and film, and he is my connection to the autism community and has been what has driven my interest in helping you all.
Hi, my name is Hilary Kokenda. I am the co-founder and COO of Zavikon. Zavikon is a recruiting agency whose mission is to place neurodivergent individuals and those with disabilities in career-oriented, meaningful jobs. The key being career-oriented, meaningful jobs. We do it in a supported manner, and we will get into we'll share all sorts of details about exactly what we do and how we work in the Career Club. My background is a very traditional Fortune 100, Fortune 500 experience in technology, where I was a hiring manager for many, many years. So I was the person that we now work with and that we support when we have them hire, our candidates. So I wish that my company had existed when I was a hiring manager, because I just see so many benefits and how great it is when companies are willing to work with us. I also graduated from UCLA. I think maybe that's why Judi and I get along so well. Go Bruins. But we had a great time with this Career Club, our first experience with it. And, I think we kind of created a little community within the Career Club, and we had a lot of success. So I'm very excited to do it again and, create another group of people that can help support each other.
Most of you know about the Orange County Asperger's Support Group, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. We've been around since 2003. We try to help individuals and family improve their quality of life, and we do that through putting on over 100 activities a year. So some of those activities are social activities like the game night and the outings. Some of them are support group meetings, which we try and focus in on specific groups. So we have one for partners, for women, for teens, for siblings, for adults, for parents. And then we have a lot of education like the Career Club, like our monthly Monday meetings, etc.
Here's more about Zavicon. As I said, we work with placing individuals in career-oriented, meaningful jobs. We are very focused on improving the unemployment and underemployment rates for the community that we support. And you know, we're having a lot of success in the way that we're bringing people on in a supported manner, and we're looking to continue and grow.
Okay, so what is Career Club? So it's a holistic program that we developed that focuses on training and support to enable college graduates who have autism about the whole career process, kind of helping you define your career. So pre-employment, what to do during employment. Sometimes you lose your job. So how do you manage that? So that full ability to manage your career. And one thing we try to do is not reinvent the wheel. So we encourage you to leverage the resources that are out there, such as Department of Rehab or Workforce Development. There are a lot of agencies out there that are there to support you. And we don't meet daily. We're not your personal concierge service. If you want to work on your resume, we may not be there for you. But there are a lot of resources, and so you need to learn to tap into those resources. If I had to meet with you and provide support to all 20 members of Career Club, I wouldn't have time to do all the other things that I do at OCSG. But when we're with you, we will provide you with support. It's Zavikon, their service model does allow them to do a little bit more hands-on hand-holding, but that is not the focus of the Career Club. That's the focus of Zavikon. We also want to build your skill sets and your confidence, and so that you can manage your own career. You should be able to network with people, to do an informational interview, to show up to your interview. So we want to give you those skills so you're able to do things for yourself. This is not something that mom's going to do for you or dad's going to do for you. This is something that you need to do for yourself. So that's what Career Club's about. But again, it's focused on those with a 4-year degree. There are a lot of options if you don't have a 4-year degree. If you went to a community college and you finished, there's certificates, there's apprenticeship programs, there's a lot of different kinds of job supports for you. But if you have made the energy, like I'm looking at Monica, who has a master's degree in English, she's worked really, 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 really hard to have that academic credential. And yet, and I know that she's done a lot. You know, she went to the UCLA Peers for Careers program, and she's looking at a lot of different opportunities. But after investing that much in her education, she deserves to have a good career, and she has a lot to give. So I know that some of you might be disappointed, but that's a requirement for our program. You want to do this one, Hilary?
Yeah, absolutely. So why are we doing this? Well, because we are really trying to address that over 80% of individuals on the spectrum are unemployed or underemployed. And a lot of them have 4-year college degrees. And it's just, it's amazing to me because in working in this field, we have found that getting individuals from this community employed it's it requires work, but once the employers are open to it, they don't have providing the support is not a huge lift. So we're finding that kind of that little boost, giving somebody a bridge, giving somebody the confidence can prove, very impactful. And the other thing is that there aren't a lot of resources. There aren't a ton of resources that can help guide people through this process. So we know it can be confusing. We know that it can be a lot without guidance, but we feel that providing this guidance in Career Club can really make a difference. And we can even point people in direction of additional services, and also provide a small community, a small support group where people can ask questions and come and talk things through and brainstorm. And we had some great situations where people came and said, "Help, guys, what do I do?" So that's why we want to do this and keep doing it.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention about this is a lot of times I know that it's hard to multitask, isn't it? It's hard to worry about finishing your degree, getting your thesis written, or taking final exams, and be thinking about building a resume, finding a job, doing all that at the same time. And so what happens a lot of times is that you finish college and then you hadn't really done all the work to find employment, and somehow they expect you to do it without having the resources. And a lot of the programs that are there haven't been properly funded. So there's something called workability that should be at the four-year colleges, but isn't. And that should be this resource to help you with that. So there's a gap. And that was the reason why we're doing Career Club. I also want to mention that a number of our colleagues are going to start doing something similar, and we're supportive of that. So as we find out about those things, we will let you know.
Do you want me to take it, Judy? Or you want to do this one? No, this is probably better for you.
Yeah. When I took this on, I went around and I was looking for partners, and I was really glad to find Zavikon. And that was to do the Career Club. But for you, it really is about one of the things that you're going to need to learn in order to launch your career, but even having a career, is to build relationships with other people and take advantages of resources that are out there. So some of the types of support you might need is improving your resume, or how to fill out job applications, or performing well on an interview, or maybe you're just not good at organizing yourself. So we recommend, like I said, that you develop some other partnerships besides with Hilary and me. A good resource is Department of Rehab. You easily can qualify for it, and they have lots of resources, and they can help you find a job. One of the resources that we brought down here to Orange County is Evo Libre. Evo Libre is a Department of Rehab vendor, but they are located typically up in Northern California, and their focus is on college graduates, or, Sabad was saying computer science, but because they're up in Silicon Valley, they have a strong focus there. So when you sign up with DOR, you can select what vendor you want to work with, and you could ask to work with Evo Libre. We probably should have gotten rid of this, but the AB 1111 was a program that that Workforce Development did with Goodwill, and a number of people have that were in Career Club found employment through that. And then finally, as Hilary's mentioned a few times, you can use Zavikon. Do you want to explain how Zavikon works with you here, Hilary?
Yeah, absolutely. So people come to us in a variety of ways. They hear about us through things like Orange County Asperger's Support Group, or they hear about us through an article, or whatever it is. They come to us, and it's pretty straightforward. What we'll do is you reach out to us. We will schedule a half an hour meet and greet. It's very informal, where we just get to know each other. We get to know you and you guys get to know us, and we get to understand a little bit about who you are and what your interests are. We have you then fill out some forms. We actually have you fill out a few forms before the meeting and then a few forms after, and we get you into our database. And we're constantly looking for employers willing to hire our candidates. So we help you with that job search. And once we have an opportunity for you, we support you through the interview, as well as the onboarding and acclimation. We provide a 90-day career coach for 90 days, who's not a job coach who shadows, but a career coach who sets up communication protocols, sets you up for success, makes sure you have any accommodations. And, it's an eye for independence. The one thing to note is that our core services are of no charge to you. So we will help you through that process. And the other thing to point out is our supported interview. We have learned that in our candidate pool, over 80% of our candidates cite the interview as the biggest barrier to employment. So we do a lot of work to help you get through that interview. We figure out how you interview best. We coach the interviewer to help you interview best, and kind of help you through that process, give you that little extra boost that you may need.
Okay, thanks, Hilary. One thing I want to mention is I'm recording this session, and in the next day or two, I'll send you a copy of these slides as well as the recording. So you don't need to take copious notes. You can just sit back and enjoy the presentation and know that there'll be materials for you to follow up with later. So Hilary and Rebecca and I got together and we planned our syllabus, and when we go do this together, I guess I'll do the left side and you can do the right side. How about that?
That works.
Okay. So this is a 7-month program. So we basically meet for an hour and a half once a month. There are some months where we might meet twice, but in general, it's about once a month. We start off, and it's going to be starting in September, and at the end, I will show you the flyer and go over the dates. So it starts in September. We have an orientation meeting, kind of getting to know you and you getting to know what's happening, and then start you thinking about your career vision. What is it that you want to do? What is the career that you're looking for? And starting to set some goals. Then you need the tools to do that. And so one is resumes. So we'll be talking about resumes. Another big issue that we ended up spending time on is your personal brand. And this was something that I don't think we had really intended to, but it really presented itself as an issue. Let's say somebody sends you an email. Do you respond? Lots of people that we found in our group didn't. They didn't respond to the email. A lot of times you'll find out a job through the email and they'll just say, well, I like texts. Send me a text. So all these little things have an impact on your brand. Let's say you were going to ask somebody a favor. Would you ask somebody who's flaked out on you or didn't respond to your email or didn't answer your call? Or would you ask somebody who is always very responsive to you? You'd ask the person who is responsive to you. That's because they have a brand that you can rely on. So we ended up spending a lot of time on that. Then some of the tools for searching, online job searching, tools for tracking your applications, and then like working with recruiters. So we're on to this second half of the agenda, Hilary.
Okay, so month 4, we talked about networking. Networking kind of, we found ourselves talking about networking a lot, but we really focused on it on month 4. We talked about continued education, what made sense for people to invest in terms of continued education, and job fairs, which kind of fell into a kind of networking. Month 5 was interview preparation, all the things that we recommend that you do to get ready for that interview, and what to do after. following up, sending emails, things like that. And then we had the, discussed disclosure, which is a challenging topic of, do I disclose or do I not disclose that I'm neurodivergent? And, it's in a lot of ways, it's a personal decision, and it depends on the situation. So we really kind of dug into that and had a nice interactive discussion. Month 6, we talked about, okay, now that when you get a job, what do you do? What happens? What may it look like? We talked about how companies, they have their, different cultures and different departments that you tend to see in a lot of companies. We talked about all the forms that you fill out when you're onboarded and benefits, how to make sure that you get what you need. We also covered self-advocation and accommodation. So how do you advocate for yourself and ask for that promotion, or say that you want a promotion or a raise after you've been there for a while? And also advocating for accommodations, what it is that you need to be successful and how you go about making sure that you get those. We also talk about performance feedback and reviews, what happens at a lot of companies, that kind of annual review process. So preparing you for what what you may experience once you get in a job. And then in our last month, we talked about employee rights. What are your rights as an employee? Conflict resolution. If there's a conflict, how is it best to approach it? And then we had a graduation. So by that time, we felt like we'd really gotten to know everybody pretty well. So it was kind of fun to have a graduation at the end of our career club.
So we treated this like college. Okay, when you go into college and you start a class, what do you get? You get the syllabus and you get the textbook. And so Career Club's like that. So this is the textbook. It's called Getting the Complete Guide to Getting a Job for People with Asperger's Syndrome. And that really also ended up being good background material for each of those months and the topics that we covered. And there's a lot of good material here, as well as good worksheets to use. Just FYI, I've talked to the author of the book, Barbara Bissonette, who's a job coach. She's located in New England, and she's going to speak to us next year as part of the author series. So I'm excited about that. So we gave this was like one of the places where we learned about people's brand, is we had people didn't all read the email to know that they were supposed to buy the book. So we spent a lot of time catching up with people, trying to get them to buy the book. And then we met on Zoom. We had the same Zoom room for each meeting. And then each month there were homework assignments. Some of the assignments are doing worksheets. Some of them might be to work on your resume, to work on an elevator pitch, different kinds of activities. Want to do the next one?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I wanted to turn up the lights. It was starting to get dark in here. So yeah, our first cohort qualifications, it was open to both OCASG members and non-members. And college graduates, or soon to be college graduates, any major, that's something important to just, we work with all industries. So we wanted to make sure that everybody felt included. Job seekers or already employed individuals. Most of the people that ended up joining were job seekers, but by the end, we actually had quite a few who were employed. So it was a nice mix of individuals that could share their experiences. And it was really, everybody there was looking for career advice and guidance. So
one thing that I would say is we had one person who was, in theory, going to be graduating that year. He may have graduated finally. And I recommend not doing it until you graduate. So we'll be doing this once a year in September. That's, I think, the rhythm that Hilary and I think is appropriate. But when you do it and you haven't graduated, you just don't have the focus. And so it's kind of a waste of your time. And so you're better off waiting until you're ready for Career Club.
And one thing too is we scheduled our meetings really during the lunch hour. So we wanted to make it convenient for individuals if they did find a job or, had a job, that if, we would hope that if they were interested, they would be able to, work it through and attend on their lunch hour if they're interested.
So this is what a typical class was. So we met on Mondays. We're going to meet on Mondays this year for an hour and a half. So it was from noon to 1:30. We pretty much stuck with that timing. We didn't usually go over the hour and a half. And we would look at, talk about the homework. What did you learn from it? We talk about what we're going to do that day. We do a status check a lot and find out how everybody's doing, what's working, what's not working. Did they find a job? Do they have an interview coming up? Do they have something that they're dealing with that they need advice on? Then we usually have some educational lectures that Hilary and myself, and when Rebecca was doing it, we would split up and each cover a different area for the day. And then we would review the homework. A lot of times we had a discussion portion, which was typically, we did it in a couple of different ways. We divided the group up into a colleague. So they were people who had similar interests from a career. So we had 3 people that were interested in game design, and we had a bunch of people interested in computer science and programming. And then we had some people that were more business oriented or liberal arts type of people. And so we grouped those together into colleagues, and they would meet from time to time during our breakout session. Or maybe we would do a discussion with everybody. But we really wanted that opportunity for about maybe 20 minutes of the session for people to talk to each other and share what they had learned. And this is an important concept, because when you're at work, your colleagues are really an essential part of your workday and a part of your support system. Having people that you work with that you can ask questions of, like, hey, I went to the staff meeting today and my boss said blah, blah, and Joe said blah, 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 blah. I didn't understand what he meant. And your colleague would say, oh, well, he just said that for the new people, they need to have blah. So having a colleague is a good way to validate what's going on in the work environment and gives you someone to socialize with, et cetera. So we wanted to build that into the structure. So this is some of the journeys we had 16 people that were part of Career Club. This isn't everybody, but we thought we would share some of the journeys that people went on. So Savag is here, so it might feel a little weird for him, but I'm gonna play a video of Savag. We had a session where we had everybody do their elevator statements, and this was Savag's. Oh, wait, hold on. I bet I'm not sharing sound. So just a second. Let me stop sharing and share again. Hold on. Somebody is talking, so please mute yourself. I don't know why it's not playing. I'm like dealing with multiple things. So first I have to mute whoever's making the noise. So let me do that first. Okay, then I'm going to try sharing again.
Hi, my name is Savag. I have a huge interest in your company. I have a back.
Wait, I noticed that you're not seeing it. So let me stop sharing again and share again. Third time's the charm, right?
There we go.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Savag. I have a huge interest in your company. I have a background in computer and computer science from USC. I have 20 years of diverse work experience from different industries, and I really like to learn more about your company.
Okay, so Savog had a strong background in programming. He lives in Santa Monica. Savog's father passed away last year, which was hard on him. His father had a company that Savog worked at, which he continues to work at. He was both a Department of Rehab and a regional center client. There's some advantages in being a regional center client that you'll hear about as I tell his story. So I think for Savog, some of the key things that I saw changes in him through Career Club was really, Savog is very engaged with the group and is very inquisitive. And he really learned about improving his brand. He really learned about cleaning up his hair, making sure he looked nice. He was responsive. At the beginning, he wasn't that responsive to emails. He got to be very responsive to emails, made sure everybody was in the loop. He really matured that way. And one of the interesting things that happened with Career Club is that other people around the world heard about us and started contacting me about Career Club. We had 2 or 3 other similar job developers like Zavikon contact us about opportunities, and some of them found employment. Well, one of the people that I met just in some of the other meetings that I go to representing the Orange County Asperger Support Group was a company called Improve on Health. Improve on Health was speaking at a transition initiative meeting, and they were a startup building medical devices to help people develop independence in taking their medication. And the owner of the company, Justin Amoyle, spoke. And at the end of his presentation, I said, well, are you hiring anybody on the spectrum? And he indicated that he wanted to. So he and I got together, and he indicated that he was interested in some different activities, like one was gamification of their app and some other things. And I explained Career Club. And I sent him just kind of a basic list of all 16 people that we had in our group, where they went to college, what their degrees were in. And he decided that he wanted to do internships. So he interviewed Savog, he interviewed also Samantha and one other person, and decided to hire both Savog and Samantha as interns. Now this is a startup, and I have worked for many startups, so I know what startups are like. Startups do not have a lot of money. That's the first thing you learn. So hiring them was one thing, but how are they going to fund it? So Samantha was not a regional center client, so we got her signed up with Department of Rehab, which is easy to do. Regional center is hard to do. And we work with the Department of Rehab in Orange County, and they used a program called on-the-job training, which basically will pay for 3 months of salary. And so both Samantha and Savog did the on-the-job training for 3 months and Justin was really thrilled with the work they did. And I have another video that maybe at the end I can show you about what they did. When the 3 months was over, Justin was interested in continuing. We got a second on-the-job training for Samantha, but because Savog was a regional center client, regional center has a program called the Paid Internship Program. This is a great program in that it will pay for a regional center client's employment for up to 1,040 hours, which if you're working 20 hours a week is basically for an entire year. And so we were able to work with Regional Center and convert Savog to be on the Paid Internship Program. And so he's continuing to work for Improve on Health now, and he's done different kinds of things, but now he's actually, we'll find out from him. Well, maybe you want to take a minute or two, Zavok, to tell us what you're doing now, and what you learned from the experience.
I learned to be a lot more confident in my writing ability. I used to, I wasn't much of a writer, doing like writing essays or reports. But over the year, I mean, over the few months, I've learned how to improve my writing, how to be more confident in it, how to have more confidence in myself, and also I don't know how to do research and how to do stuff like on the YouTube videos. I went and did research on how to do this or that, or like tie your shoes, anything related to personal maintenance. So then I wrote it down, and then afterwards we discussed gamification of how to what's it called again? How to visualize it, all those instructions. So I've learned. So I went through the Unity system, and they told me just to learn the Unity system. So I'm in my process of learning it, and still waiting for an actual project with the other group of people. But I'm getting a little bit of an idea how I would compose the overall idea of the project to make it work.
Thanks, Zavok.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Wilbur, so hopefully this will work.
I'm Wilbur Huang. I have an associate degree in graphic design, a bachelor's degree in English, and another bachelor's in visual communication. I used to work at a computer company doing testing for about 3 years. I also have experience in doing volunteer work at a public library. My strengths include good computer skills, good organization, and ability to tend to details. I enjoy jogging, playing basketball, and tennis. It was nice meeting you. Yeah.
So Wilbur had a strong education. He had lots of degrees. You know, he was not as quick at picking up social cues. So he just was not one of his strengths. He was both a Department of Rehab and a regional center client. Because he wasn't really good at picking up the cues, one of the things we asked was that his mother attend the sessions to help him understand when he was supposed to participate and when he should be quiet and things like that. And that really helped a lot. I was really excited to find out that one of the groups that he joined was that Goodwill ABA 1111 program that I mentioned earlier. And through that, he was able to get an internship with Goodwill doing some e-commerce activities. So he's been working there for a while. I haven't gotten an update from him. I'll have to ask him in Gavel Club. But it was great to see Wilbur grow, and I was really proud of his elevator statement and his ability to learn and to apply it in work. Want to do Grant?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have 2 videos.
We do.
I don't remember ever doing this.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to play the first one, which is Grant's elevator
I
statement.
have 2 of them?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember this at all.
Hello, my name is John Grant Perdue. I'm a graduate of CSUV Long Beach, and I've worked with Amazon for a year and a half now, and I am interested in expanding my horizons and working at your company. I hope to have new opportunities. Please expand my experience.
Okay. Just so you know, Grant did not turn on his camera that day. But he's here today. So, why don't you tell the story, and then Hilary, just to remind you, we had that video of that discussion about Whole Foods.
Yeah, so this was a moment that as Career Club facilitators, we were really proud of. So Grant, you were one of our star pupils, but he had a question. He was working at Amazon, but also through, and you can probably explain it better.
Yeah, I can explain it because everything's been transferred now. Where I worked for Amazon for 2 years. I think I worked for Amazon before joining Career Club, actually. And the last time we had this meeting, I had talked about how we have the choice to either stay with Amazon or transfer to the Whole Foods that we were working at. I chose the Whole Foods route.
Yeah,
and we have that discussion here. But one other thing, this was a interesting lesson for Hilary and I, which was we wanted Grant to renew his case with Department of Rehab. Department of Rehab will close your case when you get employment. And Department of Rehab said no.
Yeah, they absolutely
They weren't going to reopen his case. And they said, Amazon's a good company. And Hilary and I said, Amazon is a good company.
And Amazon and Whole Foods are basically the same thing. It's just that I'm working for one of the companies they own.
Yeah.
So it led us to it wasn't always, and we had 3 people in our group that were working for Amazon. So it's not always about finding a new job. It may be about finding a job where you work.
Yeah.
So I'll play the video, Hilary, of
really
of that discussion.
I think I could be wrong. I think this was just before they opened it up.
That was the irony.
Yeah, so this
I
was
do not remember this at all. I want to listen to see what I said.
But this was before, when you weren't sure how you should handle, because you were working with Amazon and you wanted to transition to Whole Foods, but you weren't sure how to navigate that. So this was the discussion that we had. That's very good. So really good job. You hit all the key points. I'm gonna call you out just slightly, and no criticism, but you see how kind of you weren't sure, oh, am I done? Am I trying to, is there something else I want to say? That's everybody does that.
Well, in my defense, like at the moment, like I was considering getting I do work at Amazon. I'm also considering getting a job and applying for a job at the Whole Foods I actually work at in Brea. Where I'm an Amazon worker, but I'm not a Whole Foods worker. And because I'm so familiar with the store, recently I've been considering applying to that Whole Foods to get even more opportunities, because like I don't work at the Whole Foods itself, that's the Amazon worker there. But if I get a job at both of them, it'd be a great second job.
Perfect. No, that's something really, that's a really great idea to think through.
Yeah.
The only thing I was going to point out is just a perfect example of why we practice, because you weren't sure, right? You weren't sure, should I tell them about the Whole Foods thing, or should I stop where just after the Amazon thing? So if you practice, then you figure that out. So perfect example.
I just have Whole Foods on the brain. What would I say to them? And I just didn't know what else to say.
Well, you know what I would do? Go ahead, Judi.
I was just going to say that's a great reason to practice your elevator pitch and add something about Whole Foods. And then when you're in the Whole Foods store, you can do your whole pitch and add that part. Hey, I've been working here in a year and a half, and I really love the store, and I'm really interested in becoming an employee of Whole Foods. And so that's exactly what you do, is you take that elevator pitch so that they know who you are, and then you add on, hey, I'm really interested, and I thought you were very compelling. So my
Yeah,
guess
that's what
is they would
that-
say, oh, fill out this application or whatever. So
that's
I'll
what I
be
was
quiet.
asking about the cover letter. I know cover letters are usually focused on not a particular one job, and I was thinking, is the elevator pitch kind of like a cover letter? Where in this case, I'm focusing primarily on Whole Foods. That's why I wanted to know the difference.
And it absolutely it can be. So I think it's great because you have it. You have like kind of the first thing that you did without necessarily targeting the Whole Foods at the end is kind of your generic one, right? That's kind of
Right.
you ran into somebody and got talking to them and they work for sounds like some great company. You could say, well, hey, you know, I'm John Grant Purdue and here's what I've done, and you know, and you could go through that. But
Absolutely.
Judy's dead on. In fact, she took the words right out of my mouth in that, Judy, we've been really spending a lot of time together. We're starting to finish each other's thoughts. But that's exactly what I thought was this is a perfect example of having an elevator pitch ready because you're in that store. There's going to be opportunity. And if you have that elevator pitch ready and that last sentence or that last thought of, and I really want to work here, you're ready to go. Whenever that opportunity comes up,
Absolutely.
you have a targeted elevator pitch, you know, ready to go and ready to create that opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, the hardest part for trying to get the job is because it's going to be through online applications, which is going to be the only tricky part. I could go up to the manager of the Whole Foods and ask him, hey, can I apply for a job here? He'll probably say, oh, just make an application online or something. Or he might not. I'm not sure yet because I haven't asked him yet. But
yeah, but just to segue onto that, Grant, is that he may say that because that's your call to action, that's what you have to do to apply.
Yeah.
But he now knows you are interested.
Yeah,
and
that makes
then
sense.
you and people hire people they feel comfortable with. People like hiring people they know or who know other people that they know.
And I know some of the members of the store, the Whole Foods staff, and I have experience more than some of the new recruits they've been recruiting.
Exactly. So that's why you'll stand out. And you do that. I remember when I was first looking for a job, I wanted to work as a box girl at a grocery store. And I'd go in there with my mom going shopping and I would get to know the manager. Well, eventually he had an opening and he thought of me. He says, oh, apply right now because I got an opening. So that's how it works, is that people get to know you, they get to feel comfortable with you, and you've got a place in his brain now. You've moved into his head. And so when there's an opportunity, you're going to say, hey, I applied, blah, blah, blah. And you just kind of keep that relationship going without being a stalker, but you know, some connection with him. And over time, that'll probably get itself into employment. Were you going to add to that, Hilary? Are we?
Yeah, I was going to say absolutely, because often what will happen is you're going to have to do no matter what, really, even if sometimes if you've already been hired, you're going to have to go through the process of filling out an online application. But if you've had the conversation, and like Judy says, if you've planted in their brain, when they go to say, when they look at all their applications, they're going to go, oh yeah, Grant, talk to me. Yours is going to get pulled. Yours is going to get noticed and yours is going to get flagged because of that human personal conversation that you had.
And another thing I wanted to ask, so I haven't applied for anything yet. Should I talk to the manager first or should I apply for the application first? What do you suggest?
I usually talk to somebody first.
Okay, I should talk to the manager first.
Yeah, I usually would talk to them first and then say, and ask. You want me to just go and do the online application, but I wanted to let you know I'm interested before I did that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I wanted to, before I sent the application, I wanted to attend this meeting to get some advice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, one of my New Year's resolutions is try to get a second job other than Amazon.
Got it. Well, no, I think that's great.
Thank you.
Thinking it through, and I think that's great.
Yeah, so before I'll apply for the application, I'll find the manager, talk to him, say I'm interested in applying, and then send the application.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
that's great.
Sure.
That's very good.
So Grant is here today, and the irony, and maybe Grant can tell you, was he applied, and Grant, why don't you tell the story about what happened after
So
that?
basically, I applied, and they said, like, after going through 2 people interviewing me, or not really interviewing, because they were just giving me, like, ask me questions, not really an interview. The 3rd person said, "Oh, we can't technically hire you because you work for Amazon," so I guess they can't have, you can't be both. Then about literally a week later, after being declined from continuing to the actual interview, so I never actually got an interview. The next thing what happened was Amazon dropped the bomb that just to make it easier, and to get rid of the Amazon workers working out of Whole Foods stores, they're just transferring all the workers that were Amazon to Whole Foods. So people had the choice to either stay with Amazon or be transferred to Whole Foods. And so then, like, that was, and after months waiting, the transfer happened. I work for Whole Foods, which is still connected to Amazon. And now things are better. I now have 5 days a week over 3. And things are much more organized, much more management. Things are easier, it's things to get used to, more rules. And yeah, it's going well.
Terrific. Thanks a lot, Grant. And we really appreciated Grant because he would have issues that he was working on, and he would come to us and ask for advice, and it always led to some interesting discussions. Do you want to talk about this grant?
Yeah, I'll talk about the other grant. So grant H, he had graduated from Berkeley, and he wanted to be a data scientist. He wanted to get into data analytics. He had completed an internship, but then that ended. And when he graduated from Berkeley, he had stayed up in the Bay Area. His family was from Orange County. And then he had to move home because he was looking, he needed to do the job search, and he needed to be where he didn't have to pay any rent. But he was very clear with us when we spoke with him that he wanted to move back to Northern California. So we worked with Grant, and we were able to find him an opportunity working for Stanford University. And he was placed as a data analyst at Stanford in December, and he was able to move back to San Francisco as he had wanted. And he's been there. He's coming up on a year of employment as a data analyst within Stanford's IT group. And, Stanford they're a fantastic place to work. I mean, people there and work there for 30 years because they really take care of their people. And, I haven't spoken to him probably in a couple months, but, last heard he was just thriving and doing great and getting into exactly what he had wanted to do. So Grant is one of our big success stories, and we're very proud of him. Yeah.
Okay, so these are some other stats of some of the other people and what happened with them. So Samantha Savag and Wilbur all did internships. Brian Grant, Josh Bass, and Taylor all found employment. Christian got a job, but it didn't work out, so he was looking again. Grant, Kenny, and Jimmy are doing part-time work. And then Alex, Austin, Kevin, and Michael and Josh we're still looking at the end, and I haven't gotten an update from them about what's going on with them now. Okay, now we're into what we learned. Okay, so I talked about this earlier, but one of the key things we learned was the importance of the brand. And this isn't something, we actually talked about this from a number of different perspectives. But this idea that it's really important that you think about how responsive you are to your employer, to other people talking to you, because it influences them in how they think about you. And if you're working and you want to hire someone, you want someone you can count on. You don't want someone who's not going to do the work, or you're worried they're not going to do the work, because then what's the point of hiring them? You'll end up doing it yourself. So it was really clear, and we saw lots of evidence that our group needed to focus on this. I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but it led to an interesting question about your brand, right? And I'm wondering if we're going to talk about it. I'll save it and maybe we'll talk about it next. If not, I'll bring it up at the end. So again, your brand is important. It's how you communicate, not having lots of typos in your email, whether you appear sloppy or neat, whether you respond to texts or people contacting you, whether you're prepared when you go into a meeting, whether you're attentive or you're looking at your phone or not in the meeting, whether you collaborate, whether you keep your commitments. All these things impact your brand.
Yeah.
You want to do this next one, Hilary?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is roles and responsibilities. So we ask of our participants that they accept some responsibilities. And as leaders, we also commit to, following through and, our role and our responsibilities. So as leaders, we would prepare the syllabus that would come out at the beginning of the Career Club. We worked to build and present content that we thought would be useful and interesting. We had an agenda for each session. We would work to engage all of the participants as much as possible. We were also, behind the scenes networking as much as we could with job creators to potentially bring opportunities to the people that were part of Career Club. We, on an ad hoc basis, we would do some one-on-one coaching and job search assistance. That was more, a little bit behind the scenes. And we would record the sessions and send those out. And mostly we pledged to be honest and positive and encouraging, and really work with everybody to have a good positive experience with the group.
This is the participants' roles. Want to keep going?
And
on a roll.
Yeah, I'll keep going. Okay. Yeah, I got it. So participants, and this does go hand in hand with the branding. If you can, fulfill your responsibilities, but we ask that everybody show up and on time. We also asked if you weren't going to be able to make a session that you would let us know. We asked that you do your homework, which really was not too extensive, but it did help to read the materials. There were worksheets and videos to watch. We also asked that you participate positively and be willing to collaborate with your co-participants. We wanted everyone to be respectful of others, making sure that there was active listening and contributing when it made sense. Continue the active job search. We didn't want anybody to think that Career Club was going to magically land them a job. So we asked that they continue doing whatever they were doing previously. Be open to share experiences. One of the big things we got out of this group was people bringing their experiences to the group so people could brainstorm and talk about it and learn from the experiences that everybody else went through to help them with whatever they were experiencing. As Judi had mentioned, read those emails and text messages and respond when appropriate. Attend working sessions on Zoom. So often we had like the breakout rooms and people would do smaller group working sessions. We asked to make sure that you participated in those. We wanted everybody to work on building their team, finding a job developer, tapping into whatever resources are available to them to help with this job search, establishing colleagues. So that is, part of the whole networking thing. Reach out to the colleagues that you were connecting with on the Career Club so that you have a support group, hopefully from Career Club and beyond. And then we asked to use Slack to share documents and, ask questions. That was our communication platform.
Not sure that worked, but that was a good shot.
That didn't, you might want to remove that, but yeah, that we ended up doing more email.
Yeah. I think the thing I was going to mention, because we're getting close to the end of this presentation, but it was back with the branding and a discussion we ended up having. And there's some folks that are neurodiverse feel like being neurodiverse means they shouldn't have to change for people. And we had a bit of a discussion about that. So being worried about your brand isn't saying don't be who you are. Be yourself. We're not saying don't be yourself, but realize that it's very important that if you want a job, you've got to demonstrate your ability to get the work done. And so they're not necessarily the same thing, but we spent a lot of time talking about that. And and that all kind of goes with accommodations, that all kind of goes with whether you disclose or not. There's no right answer. It's going to be based on you. It's going to be based on the job. It's going to be based on the culture of the company. But we don't want you to think that just because we say be concerned about your brand, we're not saying don't be who you are. Do you want to add anything to that, Hilary? Because I thought that was a really important thing.
No, that was really good. And that's something that we will have, probably an in-depth conversation with this next Career Club as well. There are a couple discussions that were really, kind of meaty that we dove into, and that was one of them.
So what's next? So we are starting a new Career Club in September. I'm going to bring up the flyer and we'll go over the dates. But just so you know, Zavog and Grant are part of a continuing Career Club. So we meet quarterly and just for an hour, just to check in and see how things are going and maybe teach a little something. Maybe we'll have guest speakers. We've only done this once. I think our next one is in October. But your career is an ongoing thing, and there's always lessons to be learned. If you're not working, there's lessons on finding employment. But if you are working, there's lessons about, hey, something happened in a meeting I didn't understand, or I want to ask for a raise, but I don't know how to do it. So we wanted to be available to help our graduates of Career Club as they navigate into the future. And I think that for those that have reached out to us, Hilary, we're definitely there for our Career Club members.
Absolutely. And it's also encouraging individuals that were part of Career Club to, maintain the relationships that they built, and understand that, a relationship, over a long period of time, you never know what someone's going to connect you with and, what's going to come of that relationship.
I think one of the interesting that I saw develop with Zavog and Sam when they were both working at Improve on Health was that collaboration kind of continued into the employment situation. This is more for other people. When we gave this a presentation to the conference, we were just encouraging other organizations to start their own career club. So this is what that is about. And I don't think we'll focus in on that. That's contact information. And there were some people asking about getting a hold of Zavikon. So you may want to, Hilary, put your contact information in there. And I'm now going to switch and share the flyer. So this is the flyer about Career Club. It shows all the dates that we will be meeting. Again, it's going to be from 12 to 1:30. It's on a Monday. This was today's meeting. There is a fee. So for OCSG members, for all the sessions, it's $150. For non-members, it's $180. Membership is $20. So it doesn't take a genius to know that the cheapest way to go is to become an OCSG member. We do record the sessions, so if you have a reason to miss it, you can watch the recording. But I really encourage you to make a commitment to come. We did have, I would guess, about 3 or so people who just kind of ghosted us. And what was interesting about that is one of the people who did that really needed a job, and probably had he stayed involved, he probably would have found one, but he didn't. And, you know, he was getting close to being homeless. He was really worried. And we ended up talking to him when we were dealing with graduation and found out his situation. And I know that Zavikon spent quite a bit of time with him to try and help him find some employment. I don't know whatever happened with that, Hilary, but
we're still working on it. We've got some leads for him, but nothing has, you know, solidified yet. But we're still working on it.
So it's up to you. Your career is up to you. This is a tool. This is something that we developed to help people. I think it did help a lot of people. But it's up to you as to whether it's for you. So that's, and this, I will be sending out links, and when we get into the next month, which is a week from now, I'll be promoting this, and you can sign up online. So that's Career Club. We will take questions now. So let's look through the